Hi there, my name is Rachel, and for today's discussion board post, I will be discussing Jonathan Edwards' work, A Faithful Narrative. In this work, Edwards talks about the transformative power of the gospel and how it directly impacted the lives of many young people, old people, people of different walks of life. That's what he discusses in this writing. He speaks of all the people in one particular town and how their lives were directly impacted by the Great Awakening. They became more concerned with eternal matters rather than earthly matters. Edwards says, quote, God's people and much awakened those that looked on themselves as still left behind and made them more earnest that they might share in the great blessing that others had obtained, unquote. This quote really captures the spirit of revival. People looked on and saw that those that were awakened and had experienced the grace of God, others wanted that joy that they had as well. So it was really a contagious power as people experienced this impact of revival. God's grace reached all people, rich or poor, young or old, and Edwards reflects on the moving power of God and his providence in this way. Edwards then also discusses how people are awakened to the power of the gospel. First, they recognize their need for God's grace and the need to escape eternal condemnation. Some of these convictions are sudden. They happen all at once and they realize they need the Lord's grace, but others realize this more gradually. These convictions then help them turn away from their sinful practices. They realize that that's not the walk of life they should be continuing in, and instead turn to honoring God through prayer, meditation on scripture, and attending church and having Christian fellowship as part of their lives. Author Frederick Carpenter discusses the most important part of Edwards' work and beliefs, and that was the conversion of souls to Christianity. Edwards was mostly concerned with converting people so that they knew Jesus Christ and had a relationship with them. He was not necessarily as concerned with issues of church governance or other secondary issues. He was mostly concerned about sharing the gospel with those around him. Carpenter comments that Edwards' work, A Faithful Narrative, that it is rich with first-hand accounts of conversions. That is what this work shares with us. Edwards truly was an influential force in the awakening and in our nation's history. Carpenter states that he was a foundational figure in setting the stage for the American Revolution. Edwards' view on the sovereignty of God and the equality of man left people questioning why they continued to submit to a king. If all men are equal, why would they need to submit to this higher power? That led to revolutionary thought that was a huge factor in the war for independence. Author Mark Hamilton discusses Edwards' belief on atonement, something that is central to how he teaches, as this is a foundational factor of his beliefs on conversion. Hamilton concludes that Edwards' belief about atonement is linked very closely to Edwards' belief about Christ's relationship to the elect, those ordained to accept Christ. Author Carl Cederholm reflects on Edwards' ending to A Faithful Narrative, which ends with a tragic suicide. Edwards explains that this, in his perspective, meant that the Spirit of God was withdrawing from the people. Cederholm talks about Edwards' perspective on grace and that grace was irresistible, a sudden force of God coming over the town. This prompted people to recognize their sinfulness, which then caused them to turn to God. Edwards' work, ultimately, it is a remarkable account of the direct impact the awakening had on a particular group of people, which then spread to impact the rest of America. Thank you so much.